Well, this is Jonathan Rose speaking with Neal Morse about his upcoming album, The Great Adventure. So glad that you're doing well, sir. First, most obvious question, you've always been saying for a while that you didn't plan on doing a sequel to Similitude. So what changed and brought about The Great Adventure?
Well, sometimes things just want to happen, and you can't seem to get away from it. It was interesting. You know, I had if you think of it as like a mosaic, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I early on, I had written a couple pieces. I think Vanity Fair was one, and a couple other things that we wound up not using that were obviously pointing towards a similitude to, you know, a follow-up similitude. But it didn't seem like the band wanted to go there, and it didn't seem like I had enough ideas. I worked on it a little bit on my own, and I think one of the ideas that came from that was seeking a love that never dies, as a way to put it after, you know, to talk about it sort of poetically about what he's going after. But I couldn't figure out what the story would be, you know. I didn't really want to just continue where we were. The band wasn't into it. They didn't really want to do a follow-up anyway. And so I kind of gave it up. And then we did this, we did these sessions last January. And normally we finish the writing in about 6 or 7 days usually. And then, you know, when Mike does his drums, well, we spent almost the whole time writing and working on what was a single disc version of what would become this album.
Okay.
So we completed a whole not concept version of this album with some different songs and different choruses, but a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same music. I'd have to listen to it. I've been away from it for so long. But
okay.
So there was a single disc album that was supposed to be, you know, kind of like, I think Mike tweeted about it when he left the session, saying that we had made an album kind of like a Bridge Across Forever album or something like that, you know.
Yeah, I think I remember that, actually.
Yeah. And I kind of sat with that for a while, and then I think it was at the end of January and February, I began to feel like what it really wanted to be was this follow-up to Similitude, which would be called The Great Adventure. I remember Mike had said, if we ever do one, it needs to be called The Great Adventure.
Fitting, yeah.
Because we say, you know, let the Great Adventure now begin at the end of the first album. So I thought that was a great idea, but I just didn't, I don't know, I didn't have it. I didn't feel like I couldn't push it through because I wasn't receiving the whole thing, you know.
Okay.
So it was difficult. It was really difficult. I finally had to, I think around March, I said, hey guys, we need to have a Skype call. Because Mike was wanting to just come and finish his drums on the single disc version, and everybody would just, that would be our new record. And so I had to kind of drop the bomb that I wasn't really feeling like it was good enough. Like it wasn't really what it was supposed to be. And I didn't really push this Similitude 2 thing because I knew it was going to meet with a lot of resistance. So what I did was, on my breaks from the Life and Times touring I was doing, I was coming home and I was listening to what we'd done in January, and I was taking it and I was cutting and pasting and slicing, dicing, and writing new bits and using some bits that I had written before and just making this new picture. So I wrote a 2.5-hour version of The Great Adventure.
Okay.
Using a lot of the stuff that we'd written together, and then also taking some of those themes and then like, oh, what if I sang Bill's theme here, or what if we had Eric's theme go here, you know, or all that kind of stuff. And so it couldn't have happened any other way than it did. But anyway, so then there was the 2.5-hour version of this record. And then I presented that to the guys in the spring, and praise the Lord, they all liked it. Mike was like, Mike loved it, and he was not opposed,
Okay.
which I thought was a real miracle because he had been pretty adamant about wanting to do the single disc version, you know.
Oh, he did that with the last album as well, correct?
He did. Yeah, and it was so great. Once I sent to everybody this new version and they had a chance to digest it, he just said, you know, another single disc, another 2-disc concept album is a bold move. Let's do it. Like he just completely turned around, and then of course we had to cut it down. It was too long.
Right.
And we had to figure out how to. Everybody didn't like all of everything that I had done, which was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had to figure out when we could get back together to do the final version, and that was just this last August.
Okay.
And then the question was, can we release this? I told the guys in July, you know, the thing to do would be, if we were really bold, we would say we're going to release this in January and debut it on Cruise to the Edge, even though it's not finished yet. So that's what we did. We put it out there when we were going to do it, but we didn't really know if we were going to make it.
Oh, well, I guess when you're in the fighter, you push through.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that kind of leads to the, obviously this sequel was a process. What was the biggest, obviously the whole thing was difficult from what you made it sound, to make it something new, but at the same time continue in a world that you'd already established?
Well, to be honest, you know, I try not to even think that way.
Okay.
When I'm writing. I try to just write and not think about anything, anything I've done before. I leave the other people to that. You know, other people will say, "Hey, Neal, that's too much like something you did before."
Okay.
Because to be honest, I don't listen to my own music that much after I've done it. You know. I listen to it a lot when I'm working on it, and of course when it's being mixed, I have to listen to it a lot. But so I try to just forget about the past and get into as pure of a creating space as I can, and just do just do what I think sounds cool, what I'm hearing. Try to really realize what I'm hearing in my mind. You know, try to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. You know, with the concept album, it's not just about having a bunch of good parts. We had a bunch of good parts in January, you know, but somehow it just wasn't all that it needed to be. Mm-hmm. And I think also one of the things that happened was the same thing that happened on Similitude, which is we had too many good slow themes. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a lot of space, because it'll be boring if there's too many slow themes next to one another. Mm-hmm. You have to space them out. And so that was another reason why I felt like it really needed to be a double, because I had withdrawn what I called the Warsaw theme, I think, because I said, there's just too many. Let's save that one. And to be honest, that's my favorite theme that I had come up with. Mm-hmm. That is my favorite. And so it was kind of weird that I was withdrawing my favorite theme. And so when I did the rewrite, of course, then I brought that in and I put it, around, and I knew it needed to be near the end too. So it's the guitar solo at the end in A Love That Never Dies now.
Oh, okay. Yes. That's so. During when you finally decided it was going to be a concept album, what led you to the character of Joseph? He was only one of, I think, 4 sons that the wife journeyed with in the second half of the book. So what about him led you towards him, I guess?
I was on the elliptical at a hotel in Disneyland, California, in Anaheim. We had taken our grandson out there last January. When each of my grandkids, when they turn 5, we take them for a few days to Disney World or Disneyland. Anyway, I was up in the morning and I was exercising, and I was just thinking about it. I was listening to what we had done in January, and it just came to me, because part of the thing about concept albums is that for me, And I don't think anybody else cares about this.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I have to kind of know the story, and the story brings about the music.
Okay.
So it isn't. So it was the same way with Snow. I remember saying to Spock, I remember saying, I feel like we need this. Wants to be a concept album, and so we need to sort out the story, and then the story will give us the rest of the music because we were stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that way with this. I felt like, well, I feel like it needs to be a double, but I just didn't have the key. And when I thought of that, because I was trying to write some of the stuff from Christiana from his wife's perspective, and that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wouldn't work for us to sing from a woman's perspective. It was just strange.
Yeah.
So when I had the idea about the angry son, I started thinking about the guy leaving his family and what that would be like for them left behind in the city of destruction, not a nice place.
No, not terribly.
And so that's what led me to think about Joseph, and that was kind of a key for me. That was a real unlocking. And once I thought about that, then it started bringing forth a lot of ideas about Welcome to the World, and then a lot of the ideas that we already had started to take shape in my mind about how they were going to make sense.
Okay. Well, this album, especially parts of the second disc, are definitely an angrier sound than the first one, which I guess comes from the angry character. I noticed listening through it, portions almost felt to me that the fears and struggles that the characters were going through reminded me of more of the fears and struggles of someone who already has faith and lives in it, as opposed to finding it for the first time. Is that it all in it, or am I just my imagination going wild?
No, I think that's true. It is what's happening in in the Pilgrim's Progress book is, the person has a vision right at the beginning, and then they set out for the celestial city. So they've had an experience with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's much more to it than that. And I think anybody who's on any kind of spiritual journey will appreciate and relate to a lot of these things that we go through. I think it really hurts people to think that if you're taught that, well, you just do this or that, or you recite this prayer, or you have this experience or whatever it is, and then you're kind of done. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way at all.
No, not remotely. So okay.
So I think it's comforting for people to know that they're not the only one on this journey. We're all on it.
Mm-hmm. So in the writing of the journey, you guys basically have 3 full-time vocalists. Do Eric and Bill have any input on the lyrical directions or what's written, or do you do all that and then you go from there?
I do almost all the lyrics. The only one who's ever chimed in about any of the lyrics has been Bill. I don't know that Eric has for these albums. He did on the Grand Experiment, or yeah, he did. But yeah, Bill contributed a couple things, but yeah, no, they pretty much let me have that world.
Okay, so what is the process for determining who sings what with 3 distinct voices, and do the live performances for what you have to physically be doing at the same time go into effect with that, or is it just whatever sounds best?
Most of the time it's whoever sounds best. I did an entire vocal sketch, just like I did with Similitude. So there's some kind of a template for us all to be phrasing from, If you're doing a bunch of 3-part vocals, there's got to be somebody who's leading that you're following their phrasing, right? So I did a whole template, and I think I made notes. But to me, it was like, well, it was pretty interesting. I sang everything, so my vocals were there, And I kind of just threw it out there to the guys. They sing as much stuff as you want, and we'll just kind of pick. Sometimes I let Rich pick. Like, hey, man, we all sang this part. Which one do you like best? Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's obvious. I mean, when we do three-part harmonies, it usually sounds best if I'm on the bottom, for sure, because my voice is the lowest.
Right.
I'm almost always on the bottom. Eric's usually in the middle, and Bill's on top. But sometimes they switch. It depends on the parts, you know. But we've gotten into a groove the more we work together, and I think their vocals on this record are just astounding. I think Eric's vocal on The Great Despair, for example, is just killer.
It's haunting. It's a haunting. Well, the whole song is haunting, and but yeah, especially. I just got to ask. The song Vanity Fair seems to be kind of poking fun at a materialistic and rather shallow world, and obviously it's a place in the book, but it's also a well-known fashion magazine. Did you kind of have the play on words with that in mind, or is it that just how it came to be?
I was thinking of it from the book, you know, how when they're walking there's all these fancy people and they feel out of place, and then so I kind of put it in a modern sense, and I was thinking about myself, like, where would I feel that way? I guess it might be like at a fashion show. I would feel very out of place.
Yeah, I can. Like that would be.
You know, so you know, I just kind of took some of my thinking about modern society and the vanity of it, and put it in there. But I tried to keep it light, you know.
Okay, so tour dates have been announced, and it looks like another a full-blown world excursion again. Do you guys plan on doing similar to the last tour with you know, your costumes and the projections behind the band and the whole shebang, or it will be a little more stripped down?
We're working on the projections. I need to think about this. I have been in family land for my daughter got married, and before that I was in Flying Colors land. So I need to think about what we're going to do on the tour, but I would imagine that we'll be doing some minimal theatrics.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask about the Flying Colors. There's been some updates. So how is that progressing? That's a bad pun, but
oh, it's great. Mike did his drums last week. Dave is doing bass now, and I'm going to start on keys hopefully next week. Okay.
So, all right.
Yeah, it's great. It's going to be great.
Excellent. And there's the plan for that album for 2019 or later, or what is the the same year? Okay.
We're hoping for a now don't hold me to it, but hoping for a late summer release.
Okay. Excellent. So this is a bit of a long shot. Are there any plans for a special show or two where you decide to perform both the Similitude album and The Great Adventure? And I know it would be about 3 hours long.
Right.
But I mean, a lot of your the transatlantic shows have been that length.
But it'd be like 4 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
I would think the only way you could do that would be a 2 days at a festival or something. I don't know. Like a Morse Fest.
A Morse Fest. Yeah, I was thinking that actually.
Yeah. But we've already done Similitude at Morse Fest. So,
True. So that would be kind of redundant.
Yeah. Unless we do it like 10 years from now, a 10-year anniversary thing. Yeah.
Okay. So are there any transatlantic things in the works, or is that kind of on hold with the insane things you guys have going on?
I am hoping so. I would love to. Love to do something with those guys. But we don't have any plans at the moment.
Okay. So, well, that's all I have for now. So,
all right, man.
I appreciate the conversation and the insight.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it too, man.
So I hope you have a very good Christmas, and look forward to the album coming out physically.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Merry Christmas to you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you later.
All right. Bye.